Yo, what is up, guys? Coming back at you with another video, and today we're going to be checking out the top 10 most evil kids in history. Without further ado, let's get into this. Not let's go into it. Okay. Link down below of the original video.
Confined in prison without the benefit of parole for the rest of your natural life.
Normally,
How old are
we love young people.
they talking
These
about?
kids are beyond salvation. Welcome to WatchMojo.com, and today we're counting down our picks for the
Before
top 10
18?
most evil
Oh.
kids in history.
This awful, raging, eating feeling inside. I could feel it consuming my insides.
For this list, we'll be focusing on young people who took up a life of crime and subsequently crossed one moral line or another. Our focus is primarily on people 18 and younger. Yes,
Okay.
surprising as it may be, there are more than a few cases of adolescents and teenagers going down a dark path. So you won't find the Menendez brothers here, since they were 21 and 18 years old at the time of their parents' murders. Number 10, Willie Bosket. For some people, there just doesn't appear to be any option except crime. That's what Harlem native Willie Bosket seemed to think. He believed that, like his father, he himself would end up being a murderer. Between
Ooh.
March 19th and 27th, 1978, the 15-year-old fatally shot 3 people, including one New York Transit employee. Bosket pleaded
Wow.
guilty, but was initially sentenced to a mere 5 years in a youth facility. He later went on
Seriously?
to accumulate a sentence of 82 years to life for assault, arson, and attempted escape from a correctional facility.
Good.
Number 9, Josh Phillips.
See, if you start with that mentality of, I'm gonna grow up and I'm gonna be a model, or I'm going to do crime or anything. If you start with that mentality, eventually you're gonna do it. It's like mind over matter. If I tell myself I do not feel pain or I am not cold, then my mind starts to actually think that it's true. Even though I could be in tons of pain in real life, and I could be super freezing. So if you start with that mentality, unfortunately, it's probably going to happen, which is sad.
I knew Josh and knew that he was miserable.
I honestly thought this guy was Josh. I was like, it's not a
Is
child.
it right to call this an error in judgment? Back in November of 1998, a young girl named Maddie Clifton went missing in Jacksonville, Florida. A week after Maddie's disappearance, her body was found in the waterbed of 14-year-old Josh Phillips, who had beaten and stabbed her to death.
Oh my
Phillips has
word.
since claimed he regrets the incident, but with a life sentence on first-degree murder charges and no parole in sight, we doubt he'll be leaving prison anytime soon.
Good.
In my own
That's
time,
awful.
I believe I will find the forgiveness that will satisfy my heart.
Number 8, Edmund
It's
Kemper.
awful.
I had no thoughts at all that Ed could do what he said he had done.
Appearing well-adjusted can disguise some of your worst qualities.
Then I began destroying inanimate objects, valuables of mine and others. Then I began killing dogs, cats.
For instance,
This
young
guy
Edmund
is a
managed to
psycho.
convince psychologists at the Atascadero State Hospital that he was of sound mind, despite having killed his grandparents in the aftermath of an argument when he was 15.
He called his mom
Seriously.
after he killed his grandparents, his father's parents, and said, "Mom, I just killed. What should I do?" And she said, "Call the cops."
He managed to avoid serving more than 5 years in prison
What?
and was released in 1969. But tragically, that allowed him to murder 6 female college students, his mother, and his mother's friend 3 years later. It goes
my
without saying that
God.
appearances can be deceiving.
So how come they get in a car with somebody at that
She
time?
judged me not to be that guy. I didn't look like him.
Number 7,
That guy is a psychopath. See, that's the thing, is you can never tell with people. Some people are just that good. They're good with what we call method acting, if you will, where they can literally take a persona of someone else and become that. Oh, that's horrible. absolutely horrible.
Graham Young.
And was really educating himself into being an extremely expert chemist. It's just unfortunate that the chemistry he was interested in was poisonous.
Suddenly, tea
Seriously?
seems a lot less appetizing now. Meet Graham Young, a native of Neasden in London, who had been fascinated with the effects of poison since his childhood.
He'd slipped some antimony into his friend's sandwich. Williams would be off school for a few days with some mystery virus. The doctors would say it was a virus or a bug.
In 1962, Young was arrested after confessing to the attempted poisoning of his family, an act which included serving his own sister
What?
tea laced with deadly nightshade. The teen underwent 9 years of detainment in the psychiatric facility Broadmoor Hospital before he was released, only to later use his position as a quartermaster to poison approximately 70 people with tea, which earned him the nickname the Teacup Poisoner. Fitting, but unsettling.
He should never have been let out of Broadmoor in the first place. I accept that he manipulated and was clever there.
Number 6, Brian and David Freeman.
Poison.
Siblings stick together, even in the face of a criminal investigation.
they
Brothers Brian and
triplets or
David,
something?
the
Not
eldest
triplets,
children
but
of the
3
Freeman
kids?
family, were also fervent neo-Nazis who resented their strict upbringing as Jehovah's Witnesses. The duo's resulting violent
Seriously?
relationship with their family came to a head in February of 1995, when both brothers were apprehended for the murder of their parents and younger brother Eric.
It kind of all came out in that one second. I think about it. It just happened.
Brian, David, and their associate/cousin Ben Birdwell conspired to plead guilty and avoid the death sentence. They got their wish, but landed lifetime sentences in the process.
I never thought about the consequences of anything I did at that age. I was impulsive. I didn't care about the future.
Number 5, Brenda Spencer. Doesn't seem like a valid reason for murder. Yet this is supposedly the excuse 16-year-old Brenda Ann Spencer gave for committing a school shooting. On January 29, 1979, Ms. Spencer fired 30 rounds of ammunition at Cleveland Elementary School. The shots killed the school's principal and a custodian, while leaving 8 children and a police officer injured. Upon surrendering to the police, Brenda pled guilty to 2 counts of murder and assault with a weapon, earning her a sentence of 25 years to life.
This is the type of case where, in our view, she should never be released from prison. She should
Good.
spend the rest of her
Yep.
entire life in prison for what she's done.
Number 4, John Venables and
Imagine. Okay, just imagine. Somebody's reason for killing another person is because they didn't like Mondays. Don't get me wrong, I don't like Mondays either. But I'm not gonna go out and shoot someone or kill someone like that. That's horrible.
Robert Thompson.
Who did?
Robbie.
Why did he throw bricks at him?
No.
Back in 1993, a 2-year-old Liverpool boy was kidnapped, brutally tortured, and left on train tracks to be bisected. The culprits were John Venables and Robert Thompson, a pair of students who happened to be cutting class that day and who happened to be no older than 10 years of age.
Oh my
The public was
word.
shocked when Venables and Thompson were brought to trial and given a minimum of 8 years in detention before being released under heavy restriction. We're still not sure how we feel about the whole ordeal. Number 3, Jesse Pomeroy.
Holy crap. They were just 10. And they ended up beating, and oh my gosh. That's just insane to me.
In March of 1874, 10-year-old Katie Curran went missing in South Boston. A month later, the body of 4-year-old Horace Millen turned up in a marsh. Authorities turned their gaze to Jesse Pomeroy, a local teenager previously convicted of brutally attacking other kids. Convicted by the end of the year for murdering Curran, Pomeroy went down in history as the youngest person ever charged with first-degree murder in Massachusetts.
Really?
He would spend the remainder
Wow.
of his life in solitary confinement
Good.
before passing away in 1932.
Good.
Number 2, Mary Bell.
The first thing that comes into my
Lady
mind about
looks
Mary is
psyche.
her eyes. She's got very, very distinctive blue eyes, very attractive blue eyes, I suppose, but they are very distinctive and they can fix you with a stare.
Hard lives
Very
make for
creepy.
hardened people.
Can we-
but
can we
this
stop
seems extreme.
zooming up?
Over
Can-
the summer of 1968, police in the Scotswood area of England's Newcastle upon Tyne investigated the separate murder of 2 toddlers, each killed via strangulation. By
Oh.
August, local child Mary Bell and her friend Norma Joyce Bell were charged with both murders, though the ruling was ultimately manslaughter. While Bell's friend was acquitted, Bell herself would spend 12 years in prison based on diminished responsibility.
She had certain things that one felt were missing in her emotions. That was my impression.
She
It was
should be
ruled
gone
that Mary
way
had
longer.
symptoms of psychopathy and posed an uncontrollable threat to children. Given the circumstances, that doesn't seem like a bad call.
She'd come out of it as a very balanced, sensible person and has sorted out her life with some ups and downs in it, and I think has become a very good citizen.
Before we unveil our number 1 pick,
He came out of it and has become a very good citizen. She freaking strangled 2 children. Seriously. I have almost no doubts in my mind if she did that in America. Boom. Prison for probably life. And there would be people outraged about it. And she only got 12 years. Oh.
here are some
Seriously.
honorable, or in this case, dishonorable mentions.
I wasn't thinking that night. I mean, I wasn't like
Who's this lady?
mad at them or anything like that. Just, I feel like it just happened.
If I knew then what
I love
know
Dr.
now,
Phil,
I
by the
would
way.
never have been there. I would have stopped everything from happening, and I would have never let Shanda be picked up.
right.
Shirley writes in a journal, "We killed an old lady today, and it was fun."
Number 1, Eric Harris and Dylan
Oh,
Klebold.
these guys.
Goddamn piece of punk ass shit! Do not mess with that friggin' kid! If you do, I'll rip off your goddamn head!
We've seen more than a few school shootings in history, such as those perpetrated by Mitchell Johnson and Andrew Golden, Jamie Rouse, Kip Kinkle, and Barry Lukaitis. But the one orchestrated by these 2 is by far the most traumatizing. Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold, a pair of troubled teens from Columbine, Colorado, began preparations in 1999 to lash out against society. The duo marched into Columbine High School on April 20th, carrying homemade bombs and various firearms, proceeding to kill 13 people and injure 24. To top it off, Harris and
So
Klebold
awful.
simultaneously committed suicide as police entered the school, ensuring that the pair could not be brought to justice.
Because they're a bunch of
kids
cowards.
did not come out of their mother's womb hating. What happened from the time they were born to the time that they carried out this?
Do you agree with our list? What's
Awful. I think people who commit crimes, commit crimes and then afterwards commit suicide or whatever, they're a bunch of cowards. I have a strong belief in that. Because they can't deal with it, or they don't want to be put into jail or anything. There's a multitude of different things. But if you don't want to be in jail, or you don't want to be incarcerated or anything like that, just don't do it. Seriously. Make someone else's lives better. With that said, I hope you guys all have a fantastic day. Take care.